First with breaking news. First with new information. Plus, your first alert forecast. 19 News starts now.
We continue to monitor the air quality as the Canadian wildfires and smoke from fires in Minnesota continue to affect our air quality. And we have a first alert weather day tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow there's a risk of storms, heavy rain, and strong winds. That's the main threat. Thanks for joining us first at 4 and on 19 News Plus. I'm Nicole Versansky.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. I'm Brian Duffy. Let's get to 19 First Alert meteorologist Erica Page.
She's going to break down the timing for us for tomorrow's risk. It seems like there's a chance for 2 rounds of storms, Erica.
Yeah, one through the morning, and I don't necessarily think this morning round is necessarily going to be that widespread, at least in terms of a severe risk for us. Better potential will happen as we get through the later part of tomorrow, especially afternoon to evening, but it is certainly possible that you can get 1 or 2 stronger storms in the mix, and if that happens, you do technically have all hazards on the table for tomorrow. Now, as we mentioned, damaging winds, heavy rain, those are going to be our primary concerns. But what we're watching for is through the course of tomorrow, if you can get a more isolated storm, basically out ahead of our next cold front, that storm can not only pose a damaging wind threat, but it could also contain some hail. It could also have a low-end tornado risk with it as well. So those are all the things that we're going to be monitoring. And you'll notice a level 2 out of 5 risk painted for a good majority of our area. South and east of, say, the Canton area, that's where you have a slightly higher risk for severe storms. That's where you could see that better opportunity of getting more of those isolated storms that pose all those severe weather hazards. Things are very quiet, at least here for now, but this line that you see off to our west, this eventually fills in here over the next several hours, and that is what kind of gives us that better opportunity for storms late tonight headed into tomorrow morning. And yes, we're still monitoring that air quality. An update on that coming up in just a few minutes.
Mother is dead. Her husband now charged with murder. At 3, we told you how he was charged with domestic violence earlier this year. All new at 4, Brittany Weir live for us, working the story with how the victim's friends, Brittany, are remembering her.
Yes, family says Michelle Feather was a devoted mother, a loyal friend, and someone who just lit up every single room that she walked into. But now her husband, William Feather, is charged with her murder, leaving the community that loved her just heartbroken. William Feather charged with murder in the death of his wife. On Friday, police were called to the couple's home. Sadly, Michelle Feather died at the hospital the next day.
She was funny. She liked to crack a joke. She had jokes for the customers, and she was a short and sassy little girl. I just loved her.
Investigators are calling Michelle's death a domestic violence homicide. On Friday morning, William called 911, reporting his wife unresponsive inside their Canterbury Road home. But police say the 65-year-old story immediately raised red flags.
When our officers were there investigating what happened, they saw that there was some chaos in the house for sure. So it was more than just a medical emergency. We didn't know exactly what happened, which seemed weird at the time.
Friends and family are remembering Michelle as someone whose warmth was impossible to miss. An online fundraiser set up for her son, Chris, describes Michelle as, quote, beautiful in so many ways, not only on the outside, but her inner beauty shone much brighter. The post says she was always laughing, putting others first, and grounding herself in the love for her only son. A friend and former co-worker who knew her from the Rusty Barrel says that's exactly who she was.
She was part of the Rusty Barrel, so, it's hard for all of us. She was part of our family. She's part of our Barrel family.
Now Captain Vogel says he hopes Michelle's death is not in vain.
If you are in a domestic violence situation, there are ways to get out of it. There is help out there. If you don't feel like you can go to the local law enforcement or family or friends, there is a domestic violence hotline.
And William is at Fairview Hospital. Police wouldn't share why he's there, but he is under police custody. He is due in Rocky River Municipal Court tomorrow morning. In Westlake, Brittany Weir, 19 News.
Okay, Brittany, and stories like this can be really hard to talk about. It's important to know that you are never alone, and there is always someone who is waiting to help you. If you or anyone you know is going through domestic violence, please call the number there on your screen. It's 24/7. You can call anytime, and someone will be there to do their best to help you through that. Good news in Lorain. Lorain police officer Brent Payne is back on duty. The department posted these pictures. Great to see. You'll remember Officer Payne was shot several times in the deadly ambush last July that killed fellow officer Philip Wagner. It took about a year for Officer Payne to fully recover. His homecoming at work today, especially meaningful because this is Phil Wagner Memorial Week.
Tensions boiled between the United States and Iran over the weekend. Both sides traded strikes as the U.S. saw its first service members killed as a result of the fighting since March. And as the fighting intensifies, gas prices are on the rise. Maddie Gannon is at the White House with the latest.
The world is waiting to see how the war between the U.S. and Iran plays out in the days ahead after a weekend of escalation. Chief amongst that was the death of 3 U.S. service members over the last 3 days. The Pentagon Monday morning identified 2 of those killed, a 25-year-old from Hawaii and a 19-year-old from Texas. They were killed as part of an Iranian attack on a U.S. military base in Jordan. Then on Sunday, we heard from the military that a 3rd U.S. service member was killed in northern Iraq while trying to detonate a downed Iranian drone. This marked the first deaths of U.S. military members since March, and it brought the total number of service members killed amid this conflict to 17. Despite all of this, we did hear from Secretary of State Marco Rubio Sunday night. He said that the U.S. remains open to a diplomatic solution, although he did add that it would not be good for Iran if that failed. And we did see the U.S. carry out its 9th straight night of strikes against Iran on Sunday. We are also seeing the impact at the gas pump. The national average for a gallon of gas in the U.S. hit the $4 mark on Monday, according to AAA. Gas prices reached a 4-year high in early May amid the conflict, but had been falling until recently. At the White House, I'm Maddie Gannon.
Now, all this back and forth is wrecking any progress that we have just made at getting lower gas prices.
19 data journalist Dan DeRosa is here with a look at where we're at right now.
Yeah, not low gas prices, but we were trending at least in the right direction when it looked like there was hope on the horizon. I've got pulled up the last 6 months, and this is the national average. Boy, can you tell where the war with Iran started? Yeah, how about right here? Before the war, we were paying about $2.81 a gallon as a national average. Who wouldn't take $2.81 right now? We can see it got as high as a national average when the war was at its peak. We were looking about $4.56 a gallon. Then we get this notion of a peace deal, a treaty deal that's in the works. We got down to nationally $3.69. That's still not great. But look at what it has done the last week and a half since the tensions have escalated yet again. I want to pull up one more chart because I want to show you now I've added in the Cleveland average. That red line is for Cleveland. Here's the start of the war. Our peak was terrible because remember, we had those refinery issues in Indiana. There were a couple of other refineries in Illinois. The biggest refinery in the country was in Indiana. That's when it went offline. So the national or the Ohio average was about $4.90 a gallon. We don't want to see that happen again. Obviously, we are a little bit lower than the national average. We're probably at about $3.88 a gallon. But again, everybody fears anything that gets close to $5 a gallon. We'll keep our eye on it over the next few weeks.
All right, we mentioned a little bit of that wildfire smoke and haze still sitting in our sky. Take that live look from Edgewater Beach. Folks are outside enjoying a little bit of time outdoors, but you can still tell there's a decent bit of haze still lingering in our sky as a result of some of that smoke. Now, we are not seeing as drastic of air quality impacts today, and that has certainly been a positive. If you stepped outside, you don't smell the smoke like you have over the last couple of days, but we are going to see this eventually lift out of our area, but it's going to take a little bit of time for that to happen. We're going to increase these clouds headed into tonight. We're watching that alert day tomorrow for some showers and storms in the area, but it's this pattern shift headed into tomorrow that is going to allow those air quality concerns to be lifted across our area. And again, things have been relatively okay for most of Northeast Ohio, at least as of today. You can see that thicker smoke from Green Bay down towards the Chicago area, even extending as far south as St. Louis. And that's really where the bulk of this activity has been. Yes, we still have have parts of our area under this unhealthy for sensitive groups, but more of us are sitting under that moderate air quality, and that has been a positive change, at least for us. So you will notice the hazy skies still linger through about, say, midnight or so. And then we're going to start to see that lifting up towards the north, dramatic increases as we go through the day tomorrow. And then we may get a little bit more haze that works in behind tomorrow's cold front.
A Vietnam veterans family gets closure decades in the making.
First at 4, Isabella Roberts has the story of how a Purple Heart medal found its way home.
Gone but never forgotten is a sentiment that has rang true throughout today as Curtis Patton's family came together to accept something they lost nearly 60 years ago. As TAPS plays, family and friends of Staff Sergeant Curtis Patton hold each other close, some having traveled from across the country to be here.
A smile that would light up the room.
To his brother Jerry, Curtis was kind-hearted and full of life. His sister Faye settled in Ohio, and today, this is where Curtis's memory found its way back to them.
Makes us feel proud. He's certainly not forgotten.
He earned a Purple Heart for his service, but that medal disappeared. For nearly 60 years, his family never knew where it went.
I found the Purple Heart in an apartment that was being cleaned out. This was in Texas.
The answer came this past Memorial Day weekend when Candace Johnson found the medal and reached out to Curtis's niece, Susan Palma, on Facebook.
So when I read it, I was like, okay, yeah, they mentioned my mom and they mentioned Curtis's name. So I reached out to her and she was phenomenal.
No one knows how the medal ended up in Texas, but Johnson sent the medal to the National Purple Heart Honor Mission, and from there, they made sure it came home, complete with a proper ceremony.
We believe that, there was some divine intervention to somehow get this medal in the route, and however it made it the last 58 years, back into the hands of my mom and my uncle.
And the proof is in the details.
Through God's grace, that Purple Heart stayed in the box that it came in.
For Jerry Patton, holding it again after all these years says more than words can.
Priceless. Words really cannot express how we feel.
In Chippewa Lake, Isabella Roberts, 19 News.
Cleveland Clinic says a bike helmet won't cut it for an e-bike or scooter. One doctor tells us they don't protect you as well because they aren't built for that type of speed. And you should buy one designed specifically for e-bikes. You should also talk to your kids about the rules of the road.
The kids think sometimes that they can zoom around and switch things, go from sidewalk to road, and it's just like having a bike. But because of how fast they can go, because of the enormous inertia and the trauma which can happen with it, they can be hit by other cars, which is something we see very commonly.
You should also check the laws in your city before buying an e-bike or scooter. Everywhere at 5, the new rules in one local suburb.
Caught on camera, one bizarre-looking wild animal.
What am I looking at?
It looks like an alien almost. Video of an oddly shaped raccoon wandering around Seattle. They're going viral now. The critter is known to locals for its unique spherical shape, I guess is how one could describe it. It's been caught on camera all around town. It was nicknamed Jimothy by at least one witness.
That's a raccoon?
But why Jimothy?
And my husband saw him and he looked like a Jimothy to us.
Okay, well, I guess it's that simple. But what gives Jimothy this odd look? One local veterinarian believes Jimothy has a congenital spine shortening disease.
Now your 19 First Alert forecast. Certified most accurate since 2004.
Guess we shouldn't be laughing if he's got a congenital disease, but that looked like something from Mars or something.
Can you imagine all the people who've been, you guys have to come, look at that. Like I would tell my whole family, am I seeing something?
Right.
What's going on here
Yeah.
with this raccoon? Yeah.
Well, we might be seeing a whole lot tomorrow. It's a 19 First Alert weather day.
And 19 First Alert meteorologist Erica Page tracking some storms.
Yeah, and this is going to, I think, come through in a couple of different rounds, right? So we've got a morning round that'll be around our area, and then we've got the afternoon, which brings that better severe potential. Let's walk you through this 19 First Alert weather day because, again, this is going to be a system that's coming out ahead of a cold front. So in some ways, similar to what we saw over the weekend, sure. You are going to have maybe a couple of different rounds of activity before that front passes through, and then once the front clears, your severe threat goes down considerably. But with the timing of everything, especially during the afternoon and evening, that does open up the door to some strong to severe weather across our area. Now, when we're talking about our severe concerns in and of themselves, I do think gusty winds, heavy rain, those are going to be our two primary concerns. But because you could have some more isolated, organized storms, essentially maybe even embedded within a line of activity, you're talking also a potential for some hail as well as an isolated tornado threat. Those two are lower on our list of concerns, but they are not zero as we look ahead towards tomorrow's overall, what we'll say, severe weather setup. Headed through the rest of this evening, relatively quiet. You'll see some increase in clouds across the area. Overall, though, I think what you're waiting on is storms overnight finally making their way into our western counties by early tomorrow. Will this likely still be severe? More likely than not, it will kind of be trending downward in intensity, but you still could have a couple isolated pockets within that line of activity that, yeah, could still pose a strong to severe weather threat for us, especially as we get later through the morning. Then we should see a little bit of clearing across our area. What that will do is help to re-energize our atmosphere, add some heat back into our forecast, and really kind of give storms that redevelop out ahead of the front maybe a better chance of turning strong to severe. And again, it's these isolated type of storms, predominantly across our south and eastern counties, that could pose that severe risk. So we're really watching late afternoon into the evening. But again, anything that develops through tomorrow will have to be monitored. Then you get into Wednesday. You're behind the cold front at this point, and your northwesterly upper level flow is going to kind of keep any shower activity, I think, largely east of Cleveland. But you will have a lot of wind on the backside of this system. So we will have to watch for some rough water conditions, high rip current risks as we go through not only your Tuesday, but Wednesday as well.
Now your top 4 at 4. Westlake police say William Feather is charged with murdering his wife, Michelle. Police are calling it a domestic violence homicide. William was charged with domestic violence back in January. A judge placed him on probation. He pleaded guilty to a reduced charge. William Feather is currently at Fairview Hospital, but police would not share why he's there. He is due in court tomorrow morning.
Canton police are investigating a deadly shooting. Officers were called to this home on Garfield Avenue Southwest and found Ryan Stanford in an upstairs bedroom. He'd been shot several times. He died at the hospital. Police say a suspect from the shooting was also shot, showed up at Cleveland Clinic Mercy Hospital. He was treated, then arrested, and taken to jail.
All right, Euclid police are trying to find this guy. This video was just released. That man went inside CVS and, quote, engaged in indecent exposure that was highly inappropriate, criminal, and absolutely unacceptable in a public space. Store security footage captured the incident, and the Euclid Police Department is now working to identify him. If you know who this is, call Euclid Police.
To Avon Lake, where firefighters rescued 2 men from a capsized boat on Lake Erie. One of the men, who was not wearing a life jacket, was clinging to the boat. You can see it overturned there in the water. The other man was on top of the boat. The Coast Guard also helped with this rescue. We know one person was taken to the hospital, but we don't have an update on their condition. Crews want to remind people about the importance of wearing life jackets. Britain has a new prime minister.
Yes, they do, and that makes 7 leaders taking that office in just the last decade. Andy Burnham has formally accepted an invitation from King Charles III. He will form his cabinet and is promising to shake up the way the country runs. Burnham takes over from Keir Starmer, who lost the support of the ruling Labour Party.
Britain needs to show the world that we can regain our stability once again. And that is our challenge, to make politics work.
So the 56-year-old pledged to deliver what he called a circuit breaker moment to restore faith and hope for millions in the UK.
Breaking at this hour, a man is in custody accused of throwing an explosive at a federal building in Manhattan. Investigators believe the device contained fireworks and some type of accelerant. 3 people suffered minor injuries. The suspect was also reportedly injured. A police source said the man was pulling a cart with 2 rifles, fireworks, and other items that allegedly included anti-ice materials. The building also houses other offices for government agencies, including ICE.
Also breaking, a small plane crashed into a house. This is in Fort Bend County, Texas. You can see it right there, right up against that home, leaning against that house. The plane was apparently attempting to land at the Covey Trails Airport when it came down. The pilot was the only person on board. That person was taken to the hospital.
Now your 19 First Alert forecast, certified most accurate since 2004.
19 First Alert meteorologist Erica Page back with us.
Yeah, she's tracking storms tomorrow, which is why tomorrow is a First Alert weather day.
Yeah, we're finally kind of moving on from these smoky, hazy skies to a better storm potential here as we get through your Tuesday. Now, keep in mind, there will be a couple of different rounds that we watch, one through the morning, and this will likely start potentially for some as you're getting your morning started, and then the second round will come through as you go through the later part of the afternoon into the early part of the evening. Again, this is all courtesy of a cold front that's eventually going to be rolling through our area headed into tomorrow evening. And once that front passes, your severe risk is going to be very drastically dropping behind that front. So we're not necessarily talking about severe risks lasting all night long. You'll see this level 2 out of 5 risk. This does include the majority of Northeast Ohio, but then you increase that level the farther southeast you go across our area. And that basically is just signifying that you could have more than 1 or 2 storms that turn strong to severe. You have some slightly better ingredients across our southeastern zones to potentially get not only a damaging wind threat, but hail, as well as an isolated tornado risk as well. And these are all things that we're going to have to watch. In fact, you can kind of see a little bit of a starting point with some of these showers and storms that we will be watching, all courtesy of that next cold front that's going to be rolling through. In the short term, yeah, it is still those hazy skies that we have been monitoring through the day today. And temperatures that feel a little bit more comfortable, upper 70s, where most of us are resting as of right now. I'll walk you through the hour-by-hour timing of those storms coming up in just a bit.
The North Randall community is mourning a dedicated firefighter who spent his last moments helping someone. Police say he was hit and killed by an alleged drug driver. That driver was in court today. Noel Williams joining us live now with details from the courtroom and a procession, Noel, from the North Randall Fire Station.
Yeah, Nicole, here inside of the North Randall Fire Station is this memorial. It's been put together by firefighters for one of their own, Cameron Duvall. Now, Duvall was a firefighter here in North Randall since 2022, and he's described as someone who always had a smile on his face. You can tell by the photos placed on this table.
It doesn't seem real yet.
It's definitely a somber day at the North Randall Fire Station.
He was the guy that you wanted to have on shift with you. He was a lot of fun. He brought a lot of joy.
Captain Anthony Lombardo and the rest of the station are grieving one of their own. North Randall firefighter Cameron Duvall.
So you hear about it at other places and you feel bad for them and you grieve with them. And then when it happens in your own firehouse, it changes things completely.
Firefighters were here at the station as a hearse left to pick up 29-year-old Duvall's body for the medical examiner's office Monday morning. He died on Saturday at Fairmont Boulevard near Brainerd Road in Pepper Pike. Police say he was hit and killed by Joseph Simmons, an alleged drunk driver.
Do you understand what a preliminary hearing is, sir?
Kind of, I'm still unsure, but
Simmons seemed confused during the proceeding in a Shaker Heights courtroom, appearing via video. His bond was set at $150,000 for several charges, including aggravated vehicular homicide. Here's what police say happened on that fateful night. Pepper Pike police and fire crews were called to a crash around 2:45 a.m. 3 vehicles were involved. This press release says the initial investigation found the first driver pulled off the road for a flat tire and called for roadside assistance. That's when a woman and a man, believed to be Duvall, pulled in front of the disabled car to help. A third driver, who police say was Simmons, crashed into them. The woman was taken to the hospital and is stable. Duvall died at the scene, spending his last moments as a good Samaritan.
When I got the phone call about it, it was devastating, and I couldn't believe that that's how it happened.
Lombardo says the station's in-house peer support team is here for the staff. Lombardo also says they are giving Duvall's family privacy in this time of grief. Now, when it comes to his accused killer Simmons, his case is now being handed over to the Cuyahoga County courts. In the North Randall Fire Station, Noel Williams, 19 News.
Well, investigators say they now have a person of interest in connection with an arson early this morning. Firefighters responded to a car fire at an auto shop. This is on East 185th Street. When firefighters arrived, they found a single car. It was on fire. They were able to get that under control pretty quickly. Cleveland Fire said they saw evidence of arson. The fire investigative unit was called to the scene. The car, however, was a total loss.
A federal magistrate in Miami ordered social media influencers Andrew and Tristan Tate to remain behind bars for alleged sex crimes. U.S. Marshals arrested the brothers Saturday. British prosecutors want the Tates extradited to face dozens of new charges, including rape, sex trafficking, and offenses related to child and extreme pornography. Their attorney dismissed the latest allegations as a political hit job and vowed to fight the extradition.
I believe that my clients have support from every person who's a reasonably minded person, whether they're in the United States or abroad, elected or not elected. Everybody knows that Andrew and Tristan Tate are innocent.
Andrew and Tristan Tate were already charged in the UK with similar offenses involving other alleged victims. The brothers are known on social media for flaunting wealth, male dominance, and misogynistic views. They deny any wrongdoing.
Today, friends and family of Nolan Wells are gathering to lay the teenager to rest. Wells was found dead on July 6 after a 4th of July boat trip to a popular island off of Mississippi's coast.
2 concurrent autopsy investigations are underway to determine how he died. Lee Waldman has the latest from his funeral services.
I ask that each of you keep Nolan's memory alive. Hold him close in your hearts. Share his stories and never stop saying his name. As long as we continue to remember him, his light will continue to shine through us all.
The loss of Nolan Wells is being felt throughout his community.
Drew was always there to lift people up, and that's just part of who he was and the part that we're trying to honor.
Hundreds of people are attending the funeral services in Ocean Springs, Mississippi.
Did everything you asked of him. Helped kids in my class that were needing some extra attention.
His body was found 2 days after a July 4th boating trip off of Mississippi's coast, sparking nationwide attention as questions swirl over how he died.
Let us pursue justice. Whatever the situations are that led to this.
The Mississippi State Medical Examiner's Office is conducting the official autopsy investigation. The Jackson County coroner said there were no immediate or obvious signs of foul play or trauma on Wells' body. But because of the circumstances of his death, the county asked the state to do a full autopsy. Reverend Al Sharpton and Tyler Perry offering a combined $100,000 reward for information leading to a conviction in Wells' death.
For an 18-year-old young man to no longer be with us, we want answers.
I'm Lee Waldman reporting.